Hi, my name is Roger King, and today I'm going to go over a 990 and show you how to do maintenance on the machine. So we're going to get started. First of all, we got the power off on this machine, but before you do that, you want to have your back section opened up and your head separated where you want to be, so it makes the job easy to service. So once we did that, we'll turn the power off and we are ready to get started. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is turn the power off here, disconnect. We're going to do that. We're going to lock out, tag out this. We've got the air inside we're going to lock out, and we got one other box over here we got to do the same thing. So basically you turn the power off and then you're going to hit this and pull this out. And got to lock out, tag out here, put that in. Oh. All right. Then I'm going to run inside and do the next one. All right, so now I got to turn the air off here. Turn that turns the air off. I can lock out, tag out that. And then we got the air off. All right, to maintenance the machine, so basically what you're going to need, here's a grease gun. We have a battery operated one. You get them in any hardware store. I mean, for a couple $100, it makes it a lot easier for greasing, but you could get the standard grease gun also. And then you're going to need different fittings to grease it. I suggest we sell one of these, or you get them at a hardware store or an auto parts store that has a nice grease kit you can get stuff at. And then you'll need a needle grease zerk fitting too to grease the zerks. Over here we got the sys lube for the oilers and lubricators. For that, and then for the grease, we only use EP2 grease because it's a much, if you open it up, if you open up the grease, this here is like, it's a smooth grease, so the bearings like it better. And like there's some different greases, there's a red grease out there which is very gritty, and the bearings wear out really fast and they harden up. So so we only suggest using the EP2 grease, and that'll fix all your problems with the bearings and stuff. And then, last but not least, we got a spray can here of silicone spray. We use that on our slides and also our hoppers and anything else for motion back and forth on a linear bearing shaft, hoppers, and that. So okay, so we're going to get started doing our service, our daily service, and then weekly, and then every couple months. Okay, so for a daily maintenance every day, what you need to do is clean the machine after every shift. Take the last 5-10 minutes of your shift and clean the machine. Using an air nozzle, I want you to blow out all through here, underneath here, and then even wrap under here and around where the rails are and down below. And that'll get all the dust out of there, whatever's left over. And then if the dust collector is not picking up very well, I suggest you do it at least twice a day. Every 50 to 100 doors, just because that stuff builds up, you won't get your full travel, and your bearings are going to wear out that much faster. Also, you can check your tooling every day when you're done, making sure your bits all look good, and then also your router bit, making sure it's nice and tight and it doesn't have any chips out of it. Okay, we also want to blow off our long rails too, the ones down here and up here. Just every day, just blow it off. You can see how we ran it today, and look at the dust on it. We got to blow that off to clean it up so the bearings last longer. The dust won't get in the seals. Also, we got rails up here and also up here. Up top, you don't do it every day, but every few days from the dust settling. Okay, for your weekly maintenance, it's like every Friday when you're getting ready to leave. Besides blowing the machine off good and cleaning up, you want to check your belt wear. There's a belt splice on this belt, and just make sure it's good, it looks good, the belt, because in case it's starting to crack or something, you want to replace it sooner than later, because you hate to be down for a day waiting for a belt or a belt supply kit to come in to weld it up. So check on that. Make sure your deck is clean too. And then also, using the silicone spray, I want you to spray the rails here and then those rails here, and then any linear bearing, the round rails, throughout the machine. Spray them so it adds longer life to the bearings. Okay, for the weekly, we also want to come back and check our water filter trap, the filter, then also our lubricator. So we want to make sure the filter is not full of water. So to take that off, you just turn it and it comes out. And there's an auto drain on it, so it should auto drain the water out. But if not, we'll just have to take it and get rid of the water. Okay, you can do it by unscrewing this and it'll come out. So we'll put that back in. And then over here is your lubricator. So first of all, I want to make sure there's oil in the lubricator and that it's dripping once every cycle, about one to every cycle to every other cycle. So to take that off, you just do the same thing, turn it. You're able to fill your filter up to here. There's a line here, right to here. Fill up to that line. And then once you do that, you can put it back on. And then your adjustment is right here. You turn it to counterclockwise and it'll go faster, and turn it clockwise, it'll slow it down. Okay, also down here, every day, when you're blowing off the machine in the front, blow in here where the back section is. All this in here, and then on the other side, the faceplate router here. Because what happens is dust comes over and builds up, and it won't allow it to get full travel over, and the machine won't work. Also, down here on the ground every day, you want to sweep the floor underneath the lock bore motor, because what happens is all the dust and chips fall down below if the dust collection is not picking it all up, and it builds up, and then it builds up so much the back section lock bore motor won't go all the way down, so it'll come off the limit switch and it won't run because it thinks it's up in pocket. So you want to make sure you clean that every day too. Every week you also want to clean these shafts. I use a Scotch-Brite pad with the silicone spray it, and then just scrub it really quick. And then at the same time, you also want to use your air nozzle and blow in here where the hex is going into the bronze right here, and clean it out. Just because over time, you guys are in a dust environment and it packs on here and it just goes in and it gets packed in here, then it doesn't want to width adjust for you. Every 3 weeks, they say every 200 hours, so I figured 2 weeks of, or 3 weeks of running the FX line. Maybe if you get, so it's every 200 hours. Okay, every 200 hours, we need you to grease the ball nuts here. The ball nut, this is a ball nut. It rides back and forth on this screw, and the Zerk is right here. We need to do that every 3 weeks or every 200 hours, depending on how many shifts you're running. And then we also got ball screws on the front side too, but yeah, every 3 weeks. And there's also over here, we got the housing right here, grease that, okay? Because most of the linear bearings, the round ones, we say every 3 months or so to grease them. So every 2 to 3 months, I want you to grease the machine. So we want to grease every bearing on the machine. So you got bearings here on this slide right here. So we need to grease this bearing here. The Zerk is here. Then there's one on the other side, and there's a fitting right here. Just come in with your grease gun and grease those. And then we're going to work our way through the machine, okay? Okay, if your back section has the ball catch option, you're going to have bearings over here, and then on the other side, we'll walk around and show you those. But up here on top, you're going to need your needle fitting, and you'll come in here and put your grease in here, and then from the bottom up on the bottom side. So you got 2 bearings on this plate here going down, and then you're going to have 2 right over here going down. So there's going to be 4 total bearings there. Then you're going to have bearings right here. You want to just use your needle, put it in here, and then you come around the other side. You might have to get inside, but come around here. They're right here, straight down here. And then hit those too with grease. Okay, we got 2.5 inch bearings down here we want to grease. One's right here, put it there, and then one is over here. So we hit those while we're in this corner over here. Okay, then we got our more 1.5 inch bearings under here, so you want a Zerk fitting here. Then there's a bearing here, but on the bottom side there's a Zerk down there. On your ball catch, you got option here, you got a Zerk fitting here, and then straight down below on the bottom side is your other one. There's 4 bearings on this guy, okay? With the R1 option on the back section, for the going to 0-3 degree, you got a Zerk fitting here you want to hit, and then this bearing here is on the other side. You want to hit that side, and then every 3 months. And while you're down here looking and observing, I want you to make sure the gear rack is lined up properly and there's no extra wear on the gears. On your bolt drill, this is your bolt drill on your back section. So you want to grease your 1 inch bearings here. There's a fitting of Zerk here, a Zerk back here, the third one here, and then the 4th one is right back here. You want to make sure you hit those. So now we're going to do this is our faceplate router in here. So we got bearings up here, vertical bearings. You got one here, one right down below it. Then on the other side here, we got one down below and then one right there. We'll have to hit those with grease. Over here, we got our vertical or our horizontal bearings. You want to grease these 2 here and right here. And then if you look straight down, these bolts down here, there's bearings under here and one on the other side over here, and then that's, you have to grease those too. You got to go underneath the machine, it comes straight up. Then these are our vertical for our lock bore bearings right here. We got one fitting there, one straight up here, and then on the other side, these limit switch plate here, on over here, you come in from this side, you can grease one here, and then straight up there's one more, and then you'll have your lock bore all greased up. Over here is our oil reservoir for our lock bore cylinder going up and down. So when it's sitting down in the home state down, you want about that, like 2 inches of oil in the bottom of that. You don't want no more than that because it'll blow out the top. It'll be too much oil in the system when the cylinder extends. So if you have 1 to 2 inches of oil, you got more than enough, and just make sure when you're going through, you got enough oil in that cylinder. So here's another Zerk fitting on our screw at the end. We'll make sure we get that greased. And then down here on our ball catch, you have the ball catch option. You got a couple bearings down here. On the bottom side coming up, you want to hit the grease, and then underneath here, you're going to have two more fittings right here to grease them. Here's on the other side of your ball catch. You want to use your needle bearing and go in here, and then on the other side, you got the same thing, okay? Then if you look straight behind this regulator here, you're going to have bearings straight down there, and then on the bottom side, you're going to have to grease those too. Down here, you got your 1.5 inch bearings you could grease too for the main back section. You got one here, and then one over here on the other side. Okay, so we could grease those. Okay, the outfeed end, if you got the 0.3 degree, we got to grease our fittings down here, our bearings here, and also let's make sure our gears lined up here and here, and we should put some grease in there. We climbed inside the back of the machine here, inside the middle of the machine, I guess. We need to grease our vertical bearings for our back section self-centering clamp. So we got a Zerk here, a Zerk down here we'll hit. Then over here we got the 1 inch for the horizontal for your 2 3/8, 2 3/4, back and forth here. And then over here, there's one right here. You just got to move the hose and hit that one. Then you got one here and here. Okay, up here we got bearings for our ball screw for our horizontal on our heads. So we got our 6-shooter heads. So we got a grease fitting here. Here's one on our ball screw nut. We need to hit this one every 3 weeks. So we got this one here. And then we're going to slide down the ball screw. And then we got this guy here in the box right here. You want to hit that one, okay? On our 6-shooter heads, there's 4 of them on this machine, so we got 3 bearings on each head. One is right here. It's kind of hard to see. It's behind this nylon track right there. And then we come over here to the center one. You got a Zerk there, and then a Zerk out here to your left one there. So you want to hit those, and then we got them throughout all the way down. You'll see them all the way. Okay, up here we've got the verticals on the 6-shooter. All 4 heads has 4 of these. We've got a top one up here. We got to get hit with a needle bearing or a needle fitting, and then down under here we got one here, and then on the other side we got 2 on the other side to hit. This is an air brake for the machine. There's a bearing air brake, so it comes down and it just clamps when it gets air to it. Here's our head 3 and 4 ball screw. We got a Zerk fitting here, and we can get that from the outside coming in. Okay, we got a Zerk fitting here on our ball screw for head 3 and 4, and then here's our one for our ball screw nut is right here. So we have this one definitely every 3 weeks got to get hit. Down here we got a shaft that goes down for our R3 option. So there's a Zerk fitting on the other side right here you can't see. There's Zerk fitting here, and there's one right here. And then if we scan down the middle of the machine, you're going to see one in the center. And then as we zoom down past it, you're going to see 3 down at the other end, and we got to hit with Zerk. There's 2 on the outside, but we're inside facing, the other one's just facing the other way. Okay, on your bottom lock board, 2 3/8, 2 3/4 shaft on the bottom side, there's 2 more bearings. There's a Zerk fitting here. Then if you come on the other side of this motor, down over here, there's one right in here, right over here, or up on top. This one got the bearings up just swapped, so it's up here on top. Just back on the ball catch, so you can see the rails better, but here's the Zerks here, and then down underneath coming up from the bottom, you hit the grease fitting there. These are your ball catch drills right here. When you're in here, it's important to make sure you look at them and see how they are, because if you need to change them, it's easier while you're in here just to get it and change it while you're in here. So when you're in here doing maintenance, check the tooling, and it'll probably be ready for changing. This is your chip out for your 2 1/8 bore coming up through the door, so it doesn't blow the top of your door out. So this is the chip out. So over time they wear out. So when you start seeing your door get chipped on the top, you know your chip out is bad. You need to replace it. So underneath here, there's 2 flatheads here, bolts you need, and 2 over here. So what you want to do is crack it loose just a little bit. It'll peel open, and you're able to slide this out. then you'll slide a new one in, and then you tighten it down evenly. Tighten it evenly so it's totally flat, and that way it'll be flat to the door. And then once you get that done, there's the new ones have you put a door in here, clamp it up, and burn it with it on the touchscreen. Or the old ones, you got to hit your valve, so you got to read your manual on what version you have, and it'll tell you how to burn a chip out. So before you turn the air off and lock out, tag out, you want to make sure your head is up in pocket like this. And then we got a rail clamp you could use, or down underneath, what we need to do is block the head up. So either you could cut a 2x4 from here and block it up here, or you could just come in from this rail, put this up, right here. Then you're going to tighten it. Okay, and this will hold the head up when I turn the air off and lock out, tag out on that. Okay, I turned the air off, so now I can move the heads horizontally, or I could bring them back into pocket, because if I went straight in this way, I'd hit the H block. So this here I could go into pocket to give me more room to get in to grease these fittings here and over here. And then when I pull it back on the other side, I could come in underneath here and hit the front two here and here, okay? There's two right here, here and here. So you come straight in and hit them there. To do our Columbo motor here, or high freak motor out the pocket, side slide it over, and it's in the middle of the pocket. So I always do the back side first. So you put it in, and then it's a little more challenging, but you can put your grease zerk fitting right in there and grease it that way. And then come back the other way. Then your fitting is right here. You can touch it right there. You can see it with the camera right there. You can grease it that way. Okay, so I'm just showing you how to do one head, and all 3 or 4, depending on how many heads on the machine, are the same way. So you're gonna have to just grease them all the same way. And then I'm gonna start showing you the vertical bearings, how to grease them, and go up underneath and show you more stuff, okay? Okay, with the heads all the way out to the left now, we got a zerk fitting right here on the vertical bearing. We can hit that very easily. Then once that is done, we just slide this over, and we got the other side run right here, and we can hit that. Okay, we got a zerk fitting here to grease right here on the bottom vertical. And then while we're down here, through the hole here, through the ball rail clamp, we can hit this one here. Or if you can't get it, once you're done with servicing everything else, turn the air back on, take that clamp off, and then you can come up and hit it automatically, okay? It's just for safety mainly. These are our jam clamp tubes, and they move with our front section to line up the 6-shooters and everything when it clamps up with your jam. So there's a zerk fitting right here we got to hit, and there's one on this side you got to hit, okay? So that was head number 2 jam clamp. We got head 3, head 4, and then our stops we got zerk fittings. This is on the other side, and then there's one down at the far end with bearings, so we got hit there. And then to the left, you probably won't get with the camera, but there's our number 1 head, and then there's a jam stop out there for you. We got to put a grease to. Okay, it's kind of tight quarters here, but here's our vertical bearings I showed you from the inside of the machine. Here's your zerk fitting here on the bottom side. There's one here, one over here. Then on the top, there'll be 2 on the top up there for you, okay? Then on the horizontal, there's a single bearing for each head, so there's 4 of them that go back and forth. So we got a zerk fitting here, right here above the jam clamp tube. We got to grease, okay? We also got to grease our 6-shooter heads going in to drive our screws in right here. We got 2 bearings on the back side of the head. Here, we got 2 zerk fittings. And then if we go to the inside of front where the screw receiver is, we got a fitting here and a fitting over here. And we got to hit those. And there's 4 per head, and there's 4 heads. So we got to do all 16 of them. And then on all 4 heads, up top on the 6-shooters heads, we got lubricators up there too. So they're all the same. You just there's a knob up top to turn them, and then you put oil in there to the top of the line, and just have a drip per cycle or every 2 cycles, and you should be good to go. So if you got split jam nailer on your machine, here's a zerk fitting right there you got to hit. There's just 1 per machine, or 1 per bearing per gun. There's 2 guns, so 1 for each one. There's a zerk fitting right there. Over here, we got to make sure this stays clean in here. There's a brass, but there's a stop-up bar that comes up and down. This comes up for your router to come across. so it knows where to route your pocket. And this is your far side pocket, and this is your adjustment for your right side of your hinge pocket to adjust that bolt there. And then when it drops down, it comes over to your pre-drill. So that way it's all the way over, then your pre-drill will go in. And then, so yeah, but you just want to make sure this stays clean and no dust so it goes up and down properly. And then it's all good.
Rolling.
Okay, so this is your hopper stand for your FX line. So since there's 4 6-shooter heads, there's 4 hoppers, 1 per head. And this is the box where you load your screws in here. And you got to have a plastic flap. You can notice here, it's just all the dust that builds up real fast. So what this does is keep the box cleaner. And so anyway, so yeah, you come in here, you load your screws in here. And then the hopper goes up and down, and there's slides here. And the screws slide down, and 1 per each goes to each screw holder in the screw receiver block. So each side screws slide all the way down, and they drop into here 1 at a time. When this pickoff plate extends, it grabs 1 screw. It's very important not to adjust this cylinder. It's preset at the factory, and if you go too fast, the screws will either jam up in here or they'll flip over and they'll come through your tube backwards. So we want it to go across slow, so it takes 1 screw, and then it'll come back faster, okay? To get ready for your next screw. Every week I like you guys to clean your hopper by blowing it off up here, the slides, blow it all off. Then inside the box, if you can blow it out clean, get any dust in there, get it out, and then take dry silicone spray and just kind of just drip it down, and that way it'll stay, just keep the slides lubricated. And then back in the box, you can hit a little bit of spray back there too, it won't hurt. Okay, this is for your FRL for your hopper stand here. So you got your main shutoff valve with an air filter here, just keep it air. And then we got our filter for water trap. Our regulator is set at 90 PSI. You want to make sure it stays at 90. And then we got our 2 lines. One goes up to the back side of here to the hopper. And then this here hose will go to the tank over here. I'm going to show you next. Okay, over here we got our tank here. So this is your air coming in from the main FRL on the hopper stand. So it comes in here, fills the tank. And we got 2 air injectors, 2 for each hop. We got for head 1 and 2, and then head 3 and 4. And this is your regulator, and you want it set between 40 and 60. If you set too high, the screws will go in and they'll get caught up in the hose. You want to keep it about 40 to 60 PSI, and everything works pretty smooth. Okay, now I want to go over if you guys hear air leaks coming out of your valve bank or even out of your cylinders. If you're going to notice, you'll see oil coming out of the nose of the cylinder or something. You need to check your cylinders and valves to see what it is. So if there's air coming out of your exhaust port, a lot of times what I would do is make sure you got the air on, and then everything's out of the way, and you're able, like your bolt drill is going to go straight in. So make sure your faceplate router is to the right. And if it is, you get activated, and then if air comes off of this port, if air was coming out of this port, if air came off of this and shut up, and you didn't hear nothing, you knew it was this air line here. This bolt drilled cylinder is bad, which would be this guy right here. And so what I would do right out of the gate, you could just pull the air line, because when you're not activating the cylinder, there's no air on the A side. So if you pull the air line out of this port here, and if you feel air coming out of this line, I can tell you right away that this cylinder is bad. Now, if there's no air coming out of here, then I would say, then you could change your valve. Your valve is bad. But 95% of the time, it's always the cylinder, not the valve.